of the quality of our being. And how are we ultra being present? If there's going to be any name for my philosophy or exploration, I love ultra being as the idea that to be, not more, just more who you are. It's just more attunement of things that are sort of pleasant in the way that are attracting you and really are good for the whole. It's for the benefit of all involved. So what my experience is in education, you could say my path, and if there's going to be any type of leadership, it's self-liberation. Just get out of your story. I'm here to support you as best I can. But I need your help because if we're going to create a movement, without you, how can it happen? So there's some real emphasis here, not just to my daughters, but to anyone listening to this, that if I were to leave any type of, it would be a life passing, the legacy of something that would be enlightening, this would be the gift of just being present. And you can watch and observe as a master of the moment in this way because you're not tied to anything. You've actually stepped back and things will reveal itself. This is what the earth's slosh and height means. So as it's revealed to you, you can see it. And if you have the freedom to be able to see it for what it is, you get out of the judgment because you just see it for what it is. You might knowing this, and some people will say, well, that's kind of judging it. Well, you're putting things in your sort of order because it's your world slosh. It's your world that you're dwelling in. We just need to clean it up a bit. I look in my own room where I'm talking right now as I complete this. And it's like, hey, I made the decision today to clean up. It's trash day. The kids weren't doing it. I took care of the cat. Cat has his own, our cat has its own bathroom because the litter box is taken over. We have a lot of bathrooms in our house. So the cat's got her own bathroom, but it's rarely cleaned. So I just removed that whole litter box. Now, they do it every couple of days, but I'm talking about cleaning the bathroom. So I look at my own room, my own situation, my own realm of mess in the welt slosh, my way of being in my own world. Well, I have to adjust it. So by having these conversations, and this to my gifts to Elsa and Ellen, my daughters, is that I'm looking and I'm learning. So it's taken a lifetime for me to get to this point. You can have sort of a leapfrog right here by having some sort of consideration for this and us being sort of more activated in the moment in our appreciation of each other as family and certainly for our listeners, my listeners and audience. We are community and we're a cosmic community. And if we're connected to this cause, and we're talking about simply the quality of our being present, our deliverability in our lives and in our hearts, how are we showing up is the question. And it could be a challenge to adjust things, but this is the learning and the opportunity you have for an enlightened education because you've been given a gift. And that's the appreciation of this present moment. And to waste it or to sort of cause it to be off-kiltering without a clear purpose or intention, that's something that could reasonably resolve itself relatively quickly, to me is a fantastic waste of time and it creates more disorientation and negative spin. So we might have these experiences and the ramifications could last years, if not decades, as in my case. So this learning is a prompt and it's again a gift because I have this present with you. And so we've had this dialogue and there's something here that's important and relevant. Help dissect it, that we actually inform a true, elegant, loving self-liberation movement, not making other people wrong and not leaving anybody behind in this juncture. We work together in the best way that we can. We function. And as we contribute and share and venture things forward, we'll learn. And that's the excitement of this journey. And so if we trip up, we trip up. But if the purpose and direction is clear, you know your North Star, then you dust yourself off and clear yourself out of this vlog. Again, just really quickly, the last affirmation is that you know that you are loving and you are fantastic in your natural state of being. So anything else that's occurred is either illusion or it's been co-opted and it's part of the mass trance, part of the socialization, the conditioning that we experience in society. It's the way things are. But if we're going to have this, and if we're going to have this transformed, elegant future that's enlightening, then we need to have a new practice. And the practice is simply how we're showing up. In your day-to-day practice of being present, you have an effect on an enormous welt slosh. It's not just your world, it's going deep into others because you set the prime example. You're the prime mover. UBE3, Ultra Being, an excellent example of enlightenment, is an experiment, right? It's an exploration. It's an exercise. And it's also ecstasy because you have everything when you step back and have a wider perspective than just the narrowness, right? You don't lose sight of the big picture, and yet you're able to be very competent, adroit in your way of being because you can take care of things responsibly and quickly without issues. It's a practice. As we get more into source, and the centering becomes the core of our movement, we'll have created tremendous change. I can't think of anything else more elegant or enlightening than this idea of self-liberation. Let's get out of our stories, please. Now, there could be a story that's positive and moving forward. I'm talking about the dis, D-I-S. We ought to stop dis. So I'm giving you a negative story, and you didn't even ask permission for me to tell you it. Now, you have permission to listen to this podcast and to pass it along. The idea that, we would be very permission-oriented, and again, not to make other people wrong or to leave other people behind. We can plant these little seeds just through our UBE3. Our ultra being, excellent example of enlightenment, is simply being present. Nothing more is being asked. This true appreciation of this as a ultra being philosophy is the crux of the self-liberation movement. Everything else is conjecture, story, it's made up. It's a projection of what's out there, and that's illusion. Okay, if we want to take care of the illusion out there, start with yourself. ID is internal dialogue. You can be the master and the coolest person on the planet just by letting it go, because you don't need the other approval anymore. I don't need you to say yes or to come back in my life if it's something that you don't want to do. For those that are attracted, let's create a community that really is allowing, very permission-oriented, loving in the dimension if something needs to be guided to or pointed out. It's done in this ultra being present, ultra being loving, ultra being congenial in the sense that I can relate to you and I'm making the effort to communicate. So I'm very careful of the modulation of my voice or my stance as a man, how I'm going to take dominance in the situation or whatever, or women's perspective or anything in between. If we're projecting these things out, whether it's the way we talk or the facial expression or the choice to participate in the whether or not of this wealth slosh, is to get us out of the dis and out of the vlog, which is the vanity, the anger, the lust, the attachment, and the greed that often accompanies persona that's identified in dialogue. So this idea of internal dialogue, to have some appreciation that you're thinking this, that you're using certain words, and how you're acting is an appreciation of this teaching. It's not that we have to micromanage or superanalyze ourselves in every single moment. This emptiness perspective of self-liberation and letting go just allows you to be lovingly, here and now. Ultra being present. No, being is being, right? So getting out of the I ams, right? I am this, I am that. No, we come from I. This I is the core. Adding M is what? You am? What? Mad? Angry? Vlogged? Disassociated? Because you added the M. I am what? It's an affirmation. I. So if I have an I go in my mind's imagination, it's being consciously aware to the degree that I can be a bit more attuned to my thoughts, words, and actions, and where I go in my mind, when I'm manufacturing in my fantasies. This world is made up. Now, there's been certainly an agreement among society and community and among your family that you all act a certain way, and it's your way of being. So we get out of the judgment, right? Let's be a bit more non-judgmental. Their way might not be your way, but it's their way. And any concerted effort to sort of change somebody else's perspective without first understanding your own? Wrong. So ultra being, an excellent example of enlightenment. It's a little bit of this stepping back. It's fun to watch and observe. Just careful of your participation. Have some fun. Play with it. And people are sort of released from whatever that story was. And you've helped them out just by being present. You may have had to listen to it one more time, and that can be painful. I understand it because you've heard it 1,000 times. But this time, because you were ultra being present, they might have finally said, hey, I'm ready to drop this story. I need to let it go. And you've heard them. They feel heard. And they were able to let it go. Simply because you were present. Nothing else was required. Nothing else was asked. Now, if there is an ask, you make sure you're really clear about what you heard that they're asking you to do. And is it copacetic with you? Are you able to really support them in the way that they're being asked because you've gotten clear on this? And do you want to? So can you and do you want to? It's the way of your being with it that probably is just going to snap of the fingers, that person's issue is just gone. You helped them just by being present. You listened to them. You heard them. They felt you. You felt them. This is the weld slosh. Now, it can get very deep in different levels, but you see, when you're empty and step back from it, it's just enjoying it like you're swimming in a swimming pool. You can tread water. You can go down. You can jump up. You can go off a diving board. You can swim across lanes, up and down, backstroke. So this is the weld slosh. And that kind of freedom is mastery of the moment. Because your composure and your being able to keep it here and now is moment mastery. What other type of mastery would there be? All right? Person says they're aware. Well, what are you aware of? Explore the weld slosh. So when you can get past the I am, then you can experience something that's am. You also can experience the other side of another am. I'm you, you are me, we're part of a community, we're a family, I feel you, hey, I jive with you, you got a good vibe, this is really nice. This is the weld slosh. Now there's a semblance, an equilibrium in this realm. I could be sloshing around and having some fun. It's the quality of the world that I'm choosing to create or participate or not. Just a quick reference to another sort of tribal member, sort of on the fringes of a mastermind group that we're looking to form. And, we all have kind of, our challenges, and for some people, the issues that they're working through. So you be supportive in the way that you can. But when they start to point the finger at you and you have nothing to do with that situation other than maybe you're trying to be in the moment with them. But now the conjecture is like, well, they're yelling at you and you're not even thinking like, wow, if I hadn't made this call, this wouldn't even have come up and I didn't even bring it up other than the fact that I'm here to be supportive. So I had to point out and say, hey, I'm not going to participate in this because, one, I don't have a grudge about anything, and if there's something that I could do better, be clear about it, and I'm here to support that. But to have sort of this feeling I'm being yelled at or domination, or I'm being made to be wrong in some capacity, this is a conversation that I don't think I'm really involved with. I'm just playing a role because it would be somebody else if it wasn't me here right now. Am I right? And the person, as you could tell, just snapped to it in the moment and goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Now, and I had to say, does not nobody else point that out to you? Then you need to have some sense of this I-awareness so you don't do it anymore. And now you'll be free of it. You just don't do it anymore. Self-liberation is getting out of your own story. And you have some really interesting stories. Now, if the story is positive, it's forward-thinking, going towards the goals of UBE3 and this enlightenment theory that we could have a consciously, informed community conversation that then, as we're able to relate these ideas, we can pass them along elegantly, where there's permission and appreciation, perhaps, but at least something that people will consider is another German word, a Gedenken. I don't know if I pronounce it right, but what it is, a Gedenken, a thought experiment. And you play these ideas out. Self-liberation, ultra being, weld slosh. That's the funny one for me. But if we're talking about a philosophy, we're in the world, we're dwelling in it. Let's examine the quality. What we've built, what are we building here and now? The best I can do to offer you is to help you get out of the stories that limit, get out of the RTP, repeated thought patterns that are just over and over and over again. Either you just let them go or you get them resolved. Talk to that person. Work out the details. Pay that debt. Whatever it takes. I'm willing. So whether it's a coach or a consultant, I don't know. I'm just someone playing in the field, and I want more people to come with me so we can build a team, create a self-liberation movement. And you take it on yourself. This is about yourself and your liberation. Are we talking about liberation of the self or liberation from the self? That's for you to define and divine. And you'll filter through all these ideas and experiments. Let's create something that is a true self-liberation movement. A friendship fellowship where we pass these ideas along to each other in a community that supports each other in every way that we can and does so equitably. I'm a big believer, even though there's a lot of propaganda and disorientation on the idea of egalitarianism, But the idea is if you sit in the center, right, and you imagine other gurus or godlike beings, they would have to be egalitarian. I would think so, unless you're going to have one ruler like a Zeus over the other guys.